Welcome back to the email trail. My name is Peter Birchfield, and we are going to be talking about how we can grow our capacity to lead well. You know, many of us can assume that getting a promotion is the same as having a greater capacity to lead. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Many times we get graduated into a bunch of pain, and it's because we did not focus on this conversation right here. So I hope you're ready to think through how you're going to be growing your capacity this year. And I just want to give a quick call out because this is coming from a podcast called Your Expansion Era. You can find it pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, etc. But there is the Trailhead training really kickstarting that conversation there. We are going to go further. In fact, the next 4 checkpoints are all about capacity building as leaders. And so the first one today, we're going to be talking about how do you assess your capacity. I'm going to give you 2 tools that you can work through. And then next, we're going to dive into the kind of the game plan, the action steps that were presented in the podcast. We're going to talk about how to cultivate where you currently are from just your workspace, you doing your own stuff, to a workplace where other people can thrive doing that work with you. And then checkpoint number 3, we're going to focus on accelerating your leadership journey, accelerating the work you do with a future-focused agenda, and it will really add rocket fuel to your focus. So that's going to be really great. And then checkpoint number 4 is you're going to learn how do you actually create a lifestyle of this? How do you make your capacity sustainable for the entire year so that way you can actually pioneer the entire year? You're living confidently, you're leading differently, and you're able to navigate and create all of the fun things going on in your future because you have the tools to do so. So with that said, I want to remind you the winners of this year are not going to be the most productive, they're going to be the most prepared. And a lot of leaders get preoccupied with the sentiment and the feeling of being a leader that they forget to keep preparing for the next phase, which is what leaders practically do. And so it's so important that we are putting in this preparation today with capacity building. Now, the way I thought we could do it today is by focusing on a self-assessment. And this will be a guided kind of questionnaire, survey of sorts. I want you to have something to write with right now because this will really help you make good observations and then tally up your score at the end. So capacity building, in this case, we're going to call it capacity mapping because you have to be able to look at the landscape of your life and leadership and to begin to chart a course to make sure that you have enough margin and momentum to really thrive in the next 6 months or the next 9 months or, even further into years and decades. And so the way we're going to look at capacity mapping is with 2 variables, 2 dynamics. The first one is your lifestyle. That is your foundation, okay? You cannot go further than your lifestyle is already going. So if you don't have a good foundation with self-leadership, then you can't build on that servant leadership, generational leadership, pioneering leadership, and on and on. So lifestyle is really asking the question, how sustainable is your lifestyle right now? Do you have good habits? Do you have good rhythms? Do you have good systems? Do you have good relationships? Do you have good values that are helping you go the distance, make a difference, right? We talk about that a lot, but lifestyle is your style, meaning you get to design it, you get to develop it. And if you don't like where you're at right now, you can be a part of making it better. The second dynamic we're looking at is leadership, and this is all about the vertical, okay? This is literally how high you will fly, so to speak. So it's asking the question, how prepared is your leadership ready to scale? How much can you scale the opportunities, scale the opposition, go above and beyond, really be on the head and not the tail, and be an overcomer? Leadership gives you that ability. So we're looking at lifestyle and leadership, and that creates this amazing space that you and I get to pioneer in between. And so we are going to be asking a series of questions. There are 2 categories. The first category would be lifestyle, and your lifestyle needs these 3 things, right? Your lifestyle is going to need resolute clarity. To have a thriving, grounded, strong, enjoyable lifestyle, you're going to need renewable energy, and you're going to need realistic rhythms. That's on the lifestyle part. Then on the leadership side, we're going to be looking at these 3 areas. Resilient strategy, meaning it's just as good of a plan on the whiteboard as it is, on the field, and you're able to actually adjust as needed to keep winning. Then the next category or area we're looking at is relational infrastructure. Now that might be a new phrase for you, but it basically, some people would call it the org chart, but it's so much more than just having a piece of paper and telling people, okay, you go here and you do this. Relational infrastructure is where you get the strength of your team. The strength of your team is in that relational infrastructure. So that's a big criteria we're looking at. And then the third area in leadership is resourceful systems. Are your systems going to keep up with the scale? Okay. So if you're ready, you're going to need to take notes. You're going to have to track your responses and kind of the scoring system that comes with it. And so we will begin with the lifestyle side, looking at the horizontal piece. And I want to know about your clarity, clear-headed, clear focus, strong values. You've got a good, head on your shoulders, as we would hear it. But where are you in terms of your clarity and your motivation? So you got to be honest about this, because I'm not going to know your results, but you need to know this for yourself. You don't want to be pretending that you got it all figured out, because that's one of the 3 categories of leaders, right? You got preoccupied leaders, pretending leaders, and preparing leaders. So we want to be pushing for that 3rd category. And if you're not honest with yourself, then you're not going to get a good reading. So here we go. Let's zoom in just a little bit so you can see what we're talking about. Let's look at your clarity. Number 1, I'm not sure if I am up to this. We're talking about leading. We're talking about being a leader, leading in the place that you work and you give your time to. Maybe you're there and you're like, hey, I'm here at this job, but I'm not sure I'm up to this. If you're not sure you're up to it, you got to be honest about that. That's number 1. Number 2, I cannot imagine myself succeeding here. Believe it or not, there are a lot of leaders and they are working in places and they say it's okay between 9 and 5, but man, I can't see myself actually winning here, growing in leadership, leveling up, being seen and recognized for my contributions. And you got to be honest about that. Number 3, okay, I'm in a lead role. I'm leading here, but I wonder if I'm actually on track. I wonder if the thing I'm going for is still in front of me, or if it's in some other direction that proves I'm lost. And then number 4, I never question my mission. It doesn't mean you don't question your decisions at times, or you don't question, if it's going to pan out or not, but the mission that you are leading towards is resolute. And that's why we call it resolute clarity, because you're going to have to learn how to dig deep in order to grow your capacity. And it starts with this topic, resolute clarity. All right, let's move to the next one. Take a look at it. Mark down your answer. I'll get back in a second. Earl Grey. Okay. Renewable energy. Your lifestyle has to have renewable energy in order to be functioning at high capacity. Low capacity leaders have not figured this out. And so while other people say, well, self-care is selfish and self-care, is for wimps, and I don't need that. I can just eat a bowl of, nails for breakfast, and I can just go do an ultra marathon and then go to a board meeting. You've got to realize that there's a pace to your lifestyle that's going to sustain you for the long haul. So that's why we got to ask these questions. Where are you in terms of renewable energy? Number one, I feel drained more often than I feel energized. Are you lethargic? Are you tired? Are you constantly carrying yourself? This could be just personally or, more specifically with your leadership role. Man, when you just get in that zone, it's like you're underwater and you're drowning and you're just feeling it. It's so heavy on you. You got to be honest about that. Doesn't mean you have to stay there, but you know where you're starting. Next is, I have to recover so often. It means, no, I do feel energized by the work I do. I am energized by this leader thing, but if I'm honest, I get knocked off quite a bit. Or I'll take maybe 2 steps forward, but then I fall 4 steps back. And so it feels like I'm constantly trying to just recover from the last upset. A lot of things can drain me, and I'm spending more of my time in recovery mode than I actually am, trailblazing. Number 3, I know how to recover intentionally, meaning you have put in time and effort to read, to listen to podcasts, to get coaching, to go to conferences, to get around other high-functioning, high-capacity leaders, future-focused thinkers. You have learned that this is a skill that will help you be sustainable for the long haul. All right, so I hope you feel the energy. I hope you feel the passion just rise as people start thinking and talking that way. And then the fourth is I have a structured approach to self-care. Again, self-care is not selfish. One of the best examples we've heard on this is if you're in an airplane, they will always tell you, if you ever go through turbulence or something kind of gets crazy up in the air, the first thing you're going to do is get that oxygen mask, put it on yourself first, because you have to be capable of serving others. And that's what self-care allows you to do. It's not indulgence. It's not about treat yourself. It's about lead yourself. Can you lead yourself to be a strong, well-abled leader that can give and give again? So having a structured approach means that you haven't just put in the time to learn. You don't just have high points and low points, but you're learning how to level that learning curve. You're learning how to outlast the learning curve. And you know what it takes to do this consistently. So you have a track record of renewable energy. It's really big. All right, so you're going to start adding up your scores later on, but let's go to the last area of your lifestyle, figuring out what is the sustainability in your capacity. We're looking at realistic rhythms, and if you maybe are wondering what we're talking about how often things are happening in your life. We're talking about the calendar. We're talking about your routines, your scheduling, how often things are happening in your life. It's practically, tactically the calendar, the scheduling, but it leans to something else, which is the pace of your life. So number one, my life is just one crisis after another, meaning it is out of control. You have not put this in any kind of order. All right. Number two, I only commit 1 week at a time. I know it's simpler that way. I know it's a slow life and you can just kind of do whatever you want. You kind of meander and leisure all day. But I'm telling you, if you want greater capacity, you're going to have to take on the responsibility of making commitments to other things and other people outside of that weekly routine. You're going to have to be thinking ahead about initiatives and projects and people that are going to help you and that you can help as well. All right, number three, Have you ever seen that little framework where they say, okay, you got 3 options, pick 2. You know, if you're doing a work project, they'll be like cheap, fast, quality, and you can only pick 2. I'm using that here. If your rhythms are going to pick 2, the pace of your life, the scheduling of your life, it really supports either your health, your family, or your work. You've got to pick 2. If you're in that category, we're like, man, I do value my health, I do value my family, I do value my work, but they don't always get attention. They don't always get love. More often than not, I have to pick 2. So there are some times when I'm really on with my health and my family. There's other times I'm really on with my family and my work, and there's other times I'm on with my work and my health. But I never really get it right where I'm hitting it on all 3. That's where you need to land right now. And then number 4, my pace of life serves my family and my team. And it would also include yourself as well, that you feel like you're bringing the best of you, not just the rest of you from some other fun time. So your pace of life you're actually giving of yourself consistently, sustainably to your family and your team, and they don't feel shortchanged by it. That is amazing. If you have accomplished that much already, you're winning. You're doing an amazing job. You need to really be encouraged. Don't let that inner critic crowd out your sense of joy and purpose. You've got something amazing to work with here. So I want you to tally up your scores, keep track of that. Let's go on to the next one, which is leadership, the leadership side of capacity building. And as we're mapping out your leadership journey and we're mapping out your capacity, you have to be thinking as a leader about your strategy. What is your approach to making plans, making decisions, and then implementing them? First one is, I really don't do plans because I am the plan. Whatever I think, whatever I say, that's what the team does. And even if you're a benevolent dictator, you got to own it. This, number 1, is pretty low in my book, honestly. But if you live there and you like it, be you, do you. All right, number 2, your strategy skill. My plan is always perfect, and I don't want it to be challenged by anybody else. So if you stay pretty narrow, pretty hyper-focused on the way you see something happening, and you're not really open to input, your plan is perfect in your eyes as long as nobody else on the team challenges that plan. All right, maybe that's where you're at. How resilient is your strategy? All right, number 1, not resilient. Number 2, kind of resilient, not really though. Number 3, my plan is objective based. All right, it's objective. I'm not putting my ego in it. I'm not putting my feelings in it. Right, and I let people speak into it, and we are focused on objectives. We have clear objectives. If you would think of it this way, we're on this hiking journey. We know our direction, and we know the next 1 or 2 or 3 landmarks in it. Great, that's amazing. That is a powerful evidence of a resilient strategy. But I want to challenge you that there might be something even beyond that, which is our plan is values-based. Our plan is values-based. The first one, a little nuanced here. My plan versus our plan. Have you actually let other leaders, other team members take ownership of the strategy that you're running with for your business, for your nonprofit, for your community, for your movement, for your brand? Are you letting others begin to work with you on that strategy in order to go further? And the way that works is by bringing people that share values, that have strong values together. Really important stuff. Okay, we're looking at relational infrastructure. Relational infrastructure. Number 1, all of my relationships are basically boss-employee relationships. I don't really have friends around here. I don't want friends. I don't need friends. We don't have to interact in any other way. I'm the boss. They're the employees, or I'm just an employee, and I have my boss, and that's it. They're not humans. I think they might be an android. I don't know for sure because this is all I get. Okay. I'm kind of joking here, but you see what I'm saying. Number 2, you have relationships as a leader, but they're more symbolic relationships. In other words, they don't really speak into your life. They don't really say things that would actually change your mind. They just, they're good to show other people, look, I had lunch with these people. I did a vacation with these people. Like, yeah, look, I interact with other people. I'm a real person. But if you're honest, they're not actually challenging you, making you better, inspiring you, keeping you motivated. That's just a symbolic relationship. Okay. Next one is I have seasonal relationships that may share good advice from time to time, here a little, there a little. I don't really have people that are long-term like number 4, but every so often I meet some cool people and they give me, their 2 cents, and it's cool. It's good. It's better. It's definitely better than 1 and 2, but let's keep pushing for, I honestly can say I have long-term relationships. These are key relationships that help me do 2 things. They help me structure my work, and they help me strengthen my leadership. If you got people like that doing the work with you on an ongoing basis, give yourself number 4. All right. And then finally, we're looking at your systems. How do you approach systems? The way you get things done, really important. Number 1, the way we do things have just become sacred rituals that cannot be changed. Is that the way you create systems? Is that the way you would describe the organizational culture where you are? Because if so, let's be honest about it. Number 2, if we're honest, the way we do things really reflects our past more than our future. These are all the systems of the way things have always been done or the way we used to do things, and they actually become a receipt of an idea we bought into years ago instead of reinvesting our best into the future. All right, and then the third, our systems, the way we do things, they do get changed, but only when necessary. Only when something's on fire, only when it becomes a big deal, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. We do change, but only when we have to. Or number 4, no, the way we do things are regularly innovated and celebrated as steps towards our vision. Hey, we've got this really clear vision in front of us. We want to get closer and closer towards it. We want to shorten that gap. And we take those steps by constantly learning and leveling up the way we do things. And so because of that, we innovate and we celebrate it. If that's you, go ahead and tally up your scores. Let's look at this. Now, I didn't go to any kind of empirical metric system to measure all this. I'm just kind of doing some numbers. This is mountain math, but I want to help you begin to realize how important capacity is for your life and for your leadership. All right. If it's critical level, I really want to encourage you. Don't be discouraged. Get engaged with this process. And then even if you got high scores, man, congratulations. But remember, you got to always be growing. So you've learned that is important and you know how to keep working at this. All right, we're going to do one more. Let's stick with it. This is really important because the direction of your life and the way you are functioning as a leader come together to create your capacity. All right, it's not one or the other. You can't just say, well, I have a really happy life. Yeah, but you haven't developed the skills to be a good leader. You can't say, well, look at my results. I'm doing great at work. Yeah, but you can't just, live off of the success that really is not all your own anyways, because there's so many other people that have contributed to that success. So you can't even take all that success. And what you can own is your own thinking, your own actions, your own track record, your own, relationships. So just to give you an example, if your life course is unsettled, meaning you're not sure about the direction of your life and you're just not settled on where you see yourself going, and your leadership approach is unstable, meaning sometimes on, sometimes off, your capacity renders you helpless. You're always going to be helpless. You're always going to be needing and greeting more people to do stuff for you, and you've got this inverted thought of leadership. You think that leadership is an entitlement rather than a responsibility. All right, next, if you say your life course is settled, you feel grounded and you know which direction you're going in, but the skills are deficient on the leadership side, that's fine. That just means you're not ready to take on that next territory, that next responsibility. All right, so really do the work, be content, shore up your skills. Then if your life course is unsettled, but your leadership skills are there, that's cool, but you could be at risk. You can be at risk to burnout. You can be at risk to some sort of stall later on. And then finally, we want to be both and. We want to be settled in the direction of our life. We want to be stable so that way other people can begin to depend on us. And that's when we're ready. We're ready to go there. All right, we use this phrase a lot in Prepare to Go There. We show up ready. You want to show up ready. Let's see what's next. All right. I'm actually going to wait. I'll do another checkpoint and we will get back into this. Okay. So thanks so much let me finish out on a strong point here. I really do appreciate you being on the email trail, having this conversation, thinking through your own capacity to lead. Not scripted, so thanks for going through the long kind of meandering trail. Next up, I really want you to check out the call to action below. Be a part of it. Be a part of what we're doing. There's a lot of future-focused people, just like me and you, and amazing things happen when we get together. So please consider this a warm invitation. Until next time, remember, you're going places, so prepare to go there.